What is spot market freight? What is the difference between contract freight and spot market freight when it comes to trucking? Motor carrier services are based on either long-term contractual agreements or short-term spot market transactions. The dynamics between contract and spot market rates in trucking are similar to volatile commodities such as fuel, metals, and gold. Hi, my name is Kyle. I'm an operations manager for Interstate Transport Service and founder of iCal Logistic Partners. In this video, I will break down the difference between contract and spot rates, and we will identify which choice may be better for you. Let's get to it. Let me talk about contract rates first. Contract rates make up roughly 80% of the trucking market, and they are based on an agreement between a shipper of goods and a transportation provider, whether they be asset or non-asset based. Let me take a minute to explain what an asset-based freight broker is. Basically, an asset-based freight broker are those brokers that have their own equipment, like tractors and trailers, and they can broker their own loads. Not only that, an asset-based broker can also broker out their loads to other carriers with their own authority. A non-asset-based broker is simply a broker that is simply a middleman, and they are able to be the liaison between the shipper and the motor carrier that's going to be hauling the freight. Rates. Contract rate agreements vary in length and are customized between the shippers, the brokers, and the carriers, but they tend to average 3 to 6 months in duration. An example of a spot market rate would be for a custom equipment manufacturer that ships its custom designed and fabricated equipment to job sites across the United States. In such a scenario, the volumes are low, time is inconsistent, and the destinations vary. When the equipment is ready for delivery, it then has to be matched with a truck on a short notice. The shipper will then purchase the trucking capacity on a spot market and will pay spot rates. Spot market rates are determined by the ratio of number of loads in the market compared to the number of trucks available to move this freight. When load volumes are high and truck capacity is tight, spot rates tends to rise. So conversely, when load volumes are falling and truck capacity increases or is held constant, spot rates tend to decline. So in other words, you've got the more tractors you have in a concentrated area, then the lower the rate is going to be, because somebody's going to bite. Somebody's going to bite on the cheaper freight, because those trucks are trying to get out of that area. It happens all the time in Florida where you don't have a lot of loads. You'll have a bunch of tractors, going into Florida, but yet you don't have a lot of freight coming out of Florida, and that's why the freight coming out of Florida is so cheap. Some final factors to consider that often impact both the contract and the spot rates include the type of commodity being transported, the value of the commodity, the delivery time. In other words, the faster that you want the freight to get from point A to B, the more expensive it's going to be. The weight of the freight, in other words, if it's heavier, it's going to be more expensive. The specialization required by the carrier. Transporting wind turbines, for an example, is going to be, very expensive to move wind turbines when you need permits and so forth and so on. And another thing to consider is the head haul and the back haul. The later characteristics influence pricing per mile, as delivering freight into a head haul markets cost less, because it's much easier for a carrier to obtain a load after the delivery of the original load. On the contrary, delivering freight into a backhaul market is more expensive, because carriers often have trouble finding a return load and must deadhead empty miles on the way to their next load. In conclusion, which market is better for you? In my experience, I've found that contracts exhaust more capacity for equipment, meaning that most contracts require a minimum of 7 dedicated trailers on board at all times at the shipper. If you're a mid-size to a large motor carrier with 30 plus tractors and trailers, this may be the program for you. What I like about the spot market is the diversity in all the factors that lead up to a freight offering. I like to place bids and negotiate every freight rate that we load onto our trailers. We set our daily goals, then match the freight opportunities. It's simple and effective when you have a system in place. This will conclude this video about the difference between contract and spot market freight. If you learned something or like something mentioned in the video, please take a moment and give us a thumbs up. And if you would like to see new videos, definitely hit the subscribe button. Until next time, take care.